worshiping Krishna, if you have a deity, serving Krishna with your abilities, with your assets, with your understanding, to act in a way that is friendly to God. So we were mentioning that, 50 years on the 21st of August, that'll be 50 years I was initiated by Srila Prabhu. But then I'm thinking, I've been in this mature world for thousands and thousands of births, doing all kinds of nonsense. So what can I say about 50 years? It really doesn't stack up that much. So we really need to be tuned in to the fact that Krishna wants us. He wants us in a loving relationship. So previously we may be damning him or ignoring him or neglecting him. One person asked Prabhupada a question. He said, "Why can't I see God?" And Prabhupada said, "Well, you've been ignoring him for thousands of births. What's your problem? Because he's been wanting a relationship. You've been avoiding it. Not participating." So Krishna is present. He's present here. He's present everywhere. He's in every atom. He's in every atom. He's in the heart of every living being. He's accompanying us through our births in this material world. And he's advising us to act in a way that will become benefiting spiritually. But we don't listen. So one of the most important things about Krishna consciousness is to hear Krishna's instructions. To hear his instructions. Anybody here ever bought a washing machine? Anyone bought a washing machine? Okay. Now when you get the washing machine home, what do? You don't just plug it in and plug the laundry in. If you do that, you're going to ruin your machine. Because it probably came from China by ship. And it's got these locking bolts. These locking bolts that you have to take out. Otherwise, if you turn the machine on, it's going to stop. So then you're going to ruin the 4,000 or 5,000 rands that you spent to buy the darn washing machine. So you have to read the instructions, isn't it? You have to read the instructions. So there's instructions for this material world. When we come in, there are instructions on how we should live, how we should act, how we should eat and sleep even. All those instructions are there in the Vedic literatures. So we should take advantage. Otherwise, the child doesn't go to school and then he doesn't learn anything. So Krishna has given so many instructions how we can live in this world and be comfortable, and at the end of life go back home to him. So that's the whole purpose. We have chaos. But we created it. We created it because we take the center point out and expect. You have a wheel, you have a bicycle wheel, and if all the spokes are gone, then the hub is useless. The bicycle just goes flat. So we have to see how Krishna is the most central part of this material world and should be the central point in our lives. Then things make sense. Otherwise the chaos increases. There's this scientific theory of the Big Bang. Big Bang. Anybody heard of the Big Bang? Big Bang. So what is that saying? That things exploded, then all of a sudden they came into order. But we don't find that. When things are in confusion, then they become more confused. They become more chaotic. So this is what scientists say, that some or other by natural selection or by some chance that life has become organized. It's like if I go to the Allegheny Hotel and put a bunch of sacks of cement, glass, plastic, throw a stick of dynamite, and all of a sudden they got a new wing for the hotel. But it doesn't have to. It has to be planned. It has to be organized. It needs an architect. It needs a foreman It needs workers. It requires so much in the way of personality in order for the construction to happen. So this universe is also constructed by the Supreme Lord. And if we want to live in it, then we should learn its rules. We should learn the rules that control this material world. And that's there in the Veda Scriptures. The more we read Bhagavad Gita, the more Krishna explains what our situation is here in this world and how we can ultimately get out of it. Because it's not a nice place, and it's not where we belong. We belong in the spiritual world of Krishna. So we had a nice chariot festival, chanting up and down the street, it's still going on. And the point is, how can we act in such a way to please God? How can we act in such a way to please God? If your name is Nanny, or if your name is Margaret, and people are singing your name, saying, you like people here say your name. Hey Manny, how's it going, Manny? So people appreciate it. They appreciate when your name is spoken. So Krishna is a person. He appreciates when people are chanting his name, especially when they're chanting it in devotion and love. So there's another talk we'll give later about the chanting and how important it is, and how one must carefully consider it. Maybe we can go into that. There are offenses against chanting. Chanting is so easy. It doesn't cost you anything. You can do it anywhere, anytime. There's no restrictions. It doesn't cost you money. It can be done anywhere, and the benefits are for oneself and all others. Creates auspiciousness in one's life, removes all the dirt from the heart, enables us to experience real pleasure on the transcendental platform. So, we want to talk about the glories of Krishna's holy name. But there are offenses. There are offenses against chanting Krishna's name. If one simply wants to commit sinful activities, I was raised a Catholic, and that was something Prabhupada noticed a lot. You commit sins, and then you go to the church on the Saturday night and confess your sins. Of course, when you're a little boy, it's just, you stole a few cents, you stole some candy from the tuck shop, some little things like that. When we get bigger, they're more serious. But you just confess the sins, and next day you're doing the same thing. So it's some kind of atonement. But it's not really removing the seed for the desire from within the heart. So we have to be careful that we don't chant just to remove sinful reactions. The sinful reactions are removed, but if we do it with that consciousness, then it doesn't work. We have the example of Ajamil. Anybody heard of Ajamil? Anybody? Ajamil? Okay. So Ajamil, when he was young, he was a dutiful Brahmin. He was helping his father worship the deity. He would go into the forest and collect fruits and flowers, firewood for the sacrificial fire. But one time his mind was blown. His mind was blown when he saw a Sudra and a prostitute engaging in illicit affairs. And it clouded his consciousness so bad that eventually he took the prostitute as a servant in his own home. He rejected his nice wife and kept the prostitute for 50 years. And he had 8 children or something. He was 80 years old and he had another son, a little boy, and his name was Narayan. So when the Yamadutas, the messengers of death, came to take him, he cried out to Narayan. He was calling on his son. But the name Narayan is the name of the Supreme Lord. The Lord is the spiritual son. So because he called out Narayan, The Vishnu Dutas, the servants of Lord Vishnu, they came and rescued him. They told the Yamadutas, you can't touch it. The Yamadutas were very confused because they knew that Ajamil was such a sinful guy. For so many years, he's gone to hell for a long time. So they went back to Yamaraj and asked him, well, what's going on here? We thought you were the supreme. But now these guys have come and they've taken away the sinful man from us. So then Ajamil explained that anyone who chants the holy names, they become free from all sinful reactions. But because Ajamil wasn't doing it intentionally, he wasn't intentionally calling on Lord Narayan so that Lord Narayan would remove his sins. He was just calling on Narayan, his son. But he did so in such a helpless mood that it was considered pure. There are three kinds of chanting. There's Nam Aparad. Aparad means offensive chanting, which when we don't consider how holy God's name is, and we use it in a bad way. Nam Aparad. Then there's Nam Abbas. We're trying to clear. We're taking careful to note the types of offenses that can be committed. And then there's Shuddhanam. That means the pure chant of Krishna's name. So Ajamil, he chanted not with the idea of calling Krishna, just with the mood of calling his son, but because he did so unoffensively, it was considered pure. And therefore the Vishnu came and rescued him. And then when he came, he witnessed this within his subtle body, and he realized, wow, that was a close shave. And then he went to Hardwar, he performed devotional service, and eventually those Vishnu Dutas came back and took him back home, back to God. So the chanting is our most important weapon in this age of Kali. It's the simplest method. You don't have to do yoga, you don't have to do meditation. All you have to do is chant Hare Krishna. But you have to chant it with attention. There's another verse in the Bhagavatam. Queen Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas, she says, Janmaishvarya Shrutasri here, Edamana Madatmana, Naivarya, Ranitatu, Tomakinchana Gotana. One may be aspiring for a good birth. Aishvarya means opulence. Shri, Edamana, Janma, Aishvarya, Shruta means good education. You go to University of Durban, and bodily beauty, Shri, bodily beauty. Those are all incidences of previous good karma. But that good karma can be a disqualification. If we're thinking that we're so materially situated that we're not bothered. But actually, every step in this material world is dangerous. This world is dangerous at every step. Maybe as we get older, we get a bit more, we recognize dangerous situations a little more easily. But it doesn't make this world any less dangerous. If I when my kids are growing up, if I tell them to walk the street, I say you have to look, well, in America, you look right and you look left, and then you look right again. If I'm 80 years old, I still have to do the same thing. And I have to be a bit quicker because I can't get across that road quick enough where the Mack truck doesn't flatten me. So it's still dangerous. I mean, I may be more used to it, but it's still a dangerous place. It's still very dangerous. So Krishna's giving us this information that we don't belong here, we belong with him. So the chaos of this material world comes from the fact that we're not interested in serving God. We have an identity, and it's not whether I'm white or black or brown or purple or green with pink polka dots. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm a male or a female. That's like our hardest designation. Doesn't matter if we're old or young. Doesn't matter if we're rich or poor. Doesn't matter if we're smart or stupid. Doesn't matter if we're short or tall, or big or fat, or skinny or whatever. Doesn't matter at all. Because our real designation is simply to serve Krishna. Simply to serve Krishna. And if we accept that, just by doing the little things, chanting, no sweat off your back, chanting, offering your food to Krishna, you cook something, you have a picture of Krishna, you put it on a plate, put it for Krishna, say, Krishna, please accept this food, which you have given us so nicely. And then you can take the son. Prabhu said that if a person offers their food to Krishna, they're a devotee. Otherwise, our next life, the Vedic culture teaches people to be concerned about the next life. We're going to die. Everyone's going to die. Great death already to see. The fact is, the Bhagavad Gita says, for one who is born, death is certain. We know that. But for one who is dead, birth is certain. Huh? We think after we die, then it's all over. No, we're eternal. So we have to take another birth. So we should act in such a way that we can be born in a good situation. Is that right? Okay. Yeah. So we have to prepare for the next life. And that's intelligence. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Anishtam, Ishtam, Mishram Cha, Shrivida, Kamana Palam. Anishtam means good. Nishtam means bad. And Mishram means mixed. Sometimes it's not bad or good, it's just kind of a combination. It's kind of a combination. But they accrue after death. We're thinking that the things we're doing in this life are affecting our activities here. But they're not. It's the next life. It's the next life that things we do. And the reactions we're getting in this life are from our previous life. Mostly. So we have to have that consciousness of being aware. Generally speaking, Indian people understand that there's a big difference between just living a wanton life and actually living a life with an eye to one's next birth. So that's important. And it's most important, Krishna also says, that whatever you do, Medhāvī kamanāśasti pratyapāda vijay swalpam. Swalpam means tiny bit. Swalpam apiyasya dharmasya trayate matobhaya. That a little bit of advancement on the spiritual path can protect one from the greatest type of fear. So what's the greatest type of fear? Anyone? Prabhu. Yes.
Coming back in your next life as something for us to do.
Yes. Coming back, losing the opportunity of a human form means your next life, you're in the lower species. So we should perform devotional service at least to ensure that our next life will be a human life. There's the example also of personalities who do not consider how important any act of devotion is. They think merrily, life is but a dream. But it doesn't come out that way. Every activity has its reaction. We're ignorant to that fact. And a person in ignorance, they don't think that there's a reaction to their activity. It's primarily, you can describe it with the Nike advert, just do it. They say just do it. You can do it, but then you have to take it too. You have to take the reaction as well, because they don't tell you about that. And because you're stupid, then you accept it. But the fact is that for every activity, there's a reaction. There's a result. If one acts piously, there's a good result. If one acts impiously, there's a bad one. And most people, because they don't know the difference anyway, they end up with more in the bad column than in the good column. So it behooves one at least to understand what are the things that I can do that will improve my chances of coming back in the human form, improve my chances of coming back in Krishna's devotional service. So otherwise it's chaos. If we take God out, then there's no order. There's no, things lose their center. The famous British American poet named T.S. Eliot. Anybody heard of him? Aha. So he wrote a few poems, and he was talking about when the center is lost and everything collapses. And then another thing he said in his famous poem, what? The Waste Man. He said that a moment of surrender in an age of intelligence doesn't go unnoticed. Doesn't go unnoticed. So we think we don't need to surrender. But on certain occasions when we admit that I can't do anything, all I can do is suffer, then we may look up to God, pray to God or whoever's out there to help me come to know Him. So that's the point of human life. When we start asking that question, who am I, why am I here? Then we actually become human beings. Before that, we're just animals on two legs. Practically speaking. Really, the Vedas say that. Advi, Para, Vashu. Vashu means animal, and Dvipa means two-legged. We're two-legged animals. So we're walking around, hundreds and millions of people, billions of people all over the world, but hardly any people are actually human beings, because they're just concerned with eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, like the animals. So we have this opportunity. The Krishna consciousness movement is telling you that your life is meant for devotion to God. Other religions are telling you, we talked about the kaitava, the cheating religion. You can go to God to get something. A two-story house and a color TV, Jaya Jagadish Sharuri, kind of thing. So, we have to understand we're in a very important situation in this human form of life. And we have to understand how to use it properly. And everything we do in relationship to the Supreme Lord has a beneficial effect. So everyone should be trying to change their lives. We don't really have to, Prabhu said, you don't have to change. Just add Krishna. Sometimes you get the mushroom packs, the little dried noodles. All you have to do is add water, isn't it? Or you have a little packet of spices you can put in there. But all you have to do is add water. So similarly, in our lives, all we have to do is add Krishna. Add Krishna. And we'll see how our lives change. Then we have a mood, we have a meaning, we have a reason to be. So that's very important. Most people give up on it. Maybe when they're young, they inquire, but then they have to pass their A levels, they have to pass their diploma, they have to get their honors, and they don't have time to answer the questions that are so important in order to make a meaningful life. So Srila Prabhupada had very great kindness upon the people of the Western world. Interestingly enough, the science of Krishna has been in India since the beginning of time. At least 311 trillion years, which is the birth time of Lord Brahma, and probably a lot longer than that. But the science of Krishna never came out of India till Srila Prabhupada brought it himself in 1966. And he translated so many of the Vedic literatures to give us knowledge about who we are and why we're here. And he explains it very, very carefully. He translated over 80 books. 80 books, big books, not little ones. So we have a book stall here, and we encourage everyone to get a Bhagavad Gita, because that's Krishna's special gift to the human society. How we can change our lives for the better, how we can change our lives for the eternal. So, a word to the wise. Try to get Bhagavad Gita. Even if you just have it in your house becomes auspicious. Because it's not different from Krishna. It's a literary incarnation of Krishna. There's a famous philosopher. He was called Pascal. Anybody heard of Pascal? Pascal? Aha! There we are. What was Pascal's idea? He had something they called a wager. Pascal's wager, which means he bet. You can bet that there's a God. You can bet that there's a God. And he's saying, well, believe in God, because if there is a God, then you come out on top. And if there's not a God, then you don't lose anything. So I asked Jayaveda Swami one time, he said, kindergarten philosophy. Kindergarten philosophy. Because it's not philosophy, it's just for children. And if you do something wrong, they'll smack you on the hand or something. But the problem is, we don't understand our special position in this human form and how we have to start taking some steps towards spiritual understanding. And it doesn't matter. You start when you're 5 or 50, or 55 or 75. But we have to start sometime. Just start. Doesn't matter. Old, young, doesn't matter. Krishna doesn't care. He doesn't care if you're 55 or 75, if you're male, female, old or young. He doesn't care. He just wants to see, what do you feel for me? What's in your heart? I can wear all this, shave my head and do all that. But if I don't have feeling for God in my heart, what's the point? He's not fooled. He's not fooled. So you can continue wearing the same clothing. You don't have to change your hairstyle. But the idea is that lend your heart to God. And then you'll see how the chaos of this world becomes removed. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, we've got a couple of minutes. So, yeah. Anyone have a question that they'd like to offer? Okay. All right. Question. Hare Krishna. In this chaotic world, what be the easiest way to progress and increase one's Krishna consciousness? Interesting question. We've been discussing this, and today is a very big day because one nice devotee was giving a class, and he was saying that chanting Hare Krishna is the simplest way to become Krishna conscious. All you have to do is chant Hare Krishna. But chanting Hare Krishna is not the easiest. Anybody here chant Hare Krishna? Have beads and chant a little bit? Okay, very good. Now, when you start chanting, what happens generally? Yeah, your mind starts giving problems. It starts giving problems. So it's a simple process, but it ain't easy. It ain't easy. But what's easy? And it's very significant because today is Lord Jagannath's birthday. The easiest way to make spiritual advancement is fill up to the neck with Lord Jagannath's prasad. We're giving it out there. So one can get spiritual realization and spiritual advancement just by eating Lord Jagannath's prasad. That's the easiest way. Chanting Hare Krishna is simple, but it ain't easy sometimes. Especially in the beginning when our minds are full of all kinds of rubbish. But gradually as we keep chanting, then our mind becomes passive and you can chant and hear nicely. So that's important while we come. Lord Chaitanya's move was Sankirtan. So there's a difference between just japa, which we do ourselves, and between kirtan. Kirtan is a sledgehammer. If you want to break something down, or you want to just get a hammer. But you have a sledgehammer, a 10-pound sledge, you can smash it to bits very easy. So So the kirtan is so powerful when we get together with others and chant. And then when we do our japa, then we can get through it. We can get through it. I don't know about you, but as soon as I pick up my bag, start chanting, then all kinds of things come into the mind. There's a nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 70 in the second chapter. It says, Puyamalam Achalat Pravishtam Samudram Apa Pravishanti Yatra Yatra Kamalam Pravishanti Sarve. It says that just as rivers are entering into the ocean, just like we have floods here, and the Gani River is really flowing into the ocean, but the ocean isn't coming up. The ocean is still still. So just as the rivers are entering the ocean, just like desires are always entering the mind. Even for a self-realized person, desires are always coming to, because that's the symptom of the soul, desires. The only time you won't have desires is when you're dead. So while we have desires, what do? You let them come, you let them go. You let them go. So he says that one can tolerate the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the sea. One can tolerate those desires instead of trying to act upon them. You try to act on this desire, then halfway through, there's another desire, and here's another desire. So you never get anything done. So we have to tolerate. Verse 14 in that chapter says, Matra Sparshas Nikantala. The non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception or sky of art, and one must learn. Must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. So sometimes we're more disturbed by happiness than we are distress. So Krishna says tolerate. There'll be all kinds of situations that will come. And if we get all upset about it, we lose our balance, our equilibrium. But if we just tolerate, it will come and it will go. Just like the king's song, they come and they go. So that's the easiest. The world is already in chaos in this age. Will there still be devotees chanting the holy name after the golden age? So Prabhupada has informed us after Lord Chaitanya's appearance, there'll be 10,000 years for the golden age, which will be similar to the Satya Yuga, which means that people will be searching for spiritual understanding. So of course, along with people searching for spiritual understanding, there will also be people simply interested in materialistic engagements. So, Prabhupada warned us that many of his disciples just wanted to go to the heavenly planets. So in the Bhagavad Gita explains, you go to the planet of Indra for thousands of years, and after you've enjoyed, you come back. So, if you go to the heavenly planets for 10,000 years and you come back, then the golden age is over. So that's what happens. Prabhupada said they will eat the devotees. So don't plan on coming back later. It won't be very nice. Interesting question. Why do we chant Hare Krishna 108 times? Why do we chant 16 rounds? Because Srila Prabhupada told us. The number of rounds, the number of beads on the round, interestingly enough, there are 108 principal gopis. There are 108 principal Upanishads. So that may be the reason why there are 108 on the string. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, his instruction to his disciples was to chant 64 rounds. How long does it take you to chant 16 rounds? 2 hours? Around 2 hours. So if you were to chant 64 rounds, that's 4 times. So you'd be chanting Hare Krishna 8 hours a day. So Prabhupada told his disciples to chant 64. We can't do that. And then he reduced it to 32. And they said, no, you can't do that either. So then he made 16. That was his understanding. At least 16. And preferably more. We spoke about offensive chanting. In the material world, we often get caught with doing something else while chanting. Doesn't mean that we will get reaction for it. Well, you won't get the reaction of pure love of God. You won't get a reaction for pure love of God. So as we chant more purely, then the effects of Krishna's name will affect our consciousness. We'll be thinking of Krishna's activities, we'll be thinking of Krishna's qualities, we'll be thinking of Krishna's pastimes. So the more we chant purely, the more those things will be dear to us. But until we come to the position of chanting unoffensively, then our experience of chanting, though it's always beneficial, there's a nice verse. It says, Nam aparad yuktana namanyega haranchegam avishranti prayuktani kani ivartanancha. It says, those who chant offensively, the solution is to chant continuously. Someone said, well, it's not working for me, so I should stop. No, you should chant more often. You should chant continuously, 24/7. So it will work. It works. It will work, but if we're just chanting offensively, then we should just chant more. Chant more. And then our consciousness will become clear. There are reactions to offensive chanting. The reaction is, if we have a devotional creeper, when we meet a spiritual master and receive his instructions, it's called the seed of devotional service, called the Medhāvī, the seed of devotional service. Guru Krishna Prasadika Bhakti Lata Bij. Bij means seed. So by the mercy of Krishna, one gets a spiritual master. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one gets Krishna. One gets the seed of devotional service. So when you're chanting offensively, you're watering not the devotional creeper, but weeds of material desires. Conflict, adoration, dissension, like that. So those weeds, it's like if you have a garden and you don't weed the garden, then the weeds will take over and stifle the real plants that you want to grow. So we have to work on the offenses so that our devotional creeper will grow and not our materialistic desires. Okay? Hare Krishna says when doing yoga, one must put a deer skin on the floor. To get the deer skin, one has to kill the deer. How is this the case? Well, you don't have to kill the deer. Generally speaking, in the Vedic culture, even they make shoes, they make belts, maybe, but they use it from animals that died natural death. You just wait. Prabhu told the meat eaters as well. Just let the cow die and you can eat it. You don't have to pay for it. We used to have cows out at Cato Ridge, our farm, and when they got old and died, what would you do with them? We called the lion park, and they would come and take the cow away. Because the lions are old, they can't chase anything. In fact, they don't even have any teeth in their mouth. They're probably gum to death. But, you know, the cow died naturally, and we didn't have any purpose, use for it. So we called the lion park to come and take the cow. There's a happy lions. So, you know, we don't have to kill things. That's our commandment. Thou shalt not kill. So we don't practice that kind of yoga anyway with the deer skin and the soft cloth. Krishna explains it in Bhagavad Gita in order to offer it as one of the options instead of devotion. But that's not our path. But in India too, the mridangas, like we're playing mridangas, The dongas have leather thongs that wrap the heads to the clay shell. And those are supposed to be from animals that died a natural death. Well, there's question about it now because now there's becoming a lot of business in redondas. So some unscrupulous people, they get the skin wherever they can get it from. But the devotees will always investigate. We'll investigate. If we're eating some kind of food, we want to check and see if it's got some gelatin or it's got some egg or something in it. So we won't take that. So also we won't take any deer skin that's not killed naturally. And one more. What is above the spiritual sky? Please explain. All right. Just as we have the 7 layers, earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, ego, excuse me. At the end of the air of this universe, then you have 10,000 miles of earth. And after earth, you have 10 times that, which is 100,000 miles worth of water. Then after that, you have a 10 times thicker layer of fire, earth, water, fire. After that, you have a 10 times thicker layer of air, and then you have mind, intelligence, and ego. So this universe is considered like a nut. Like a nut. You've got the seed or the nut inside, and like a walnut, you've got this big thing. And then you've only got the little thing inside. So this material universe, it's a very difficult place to get out of. Even for great yogis who practice for hundreds of years. So that's not recommended in this age. The recommendation is chanting Hare Krishna. So this festival is so important. You see Lord Jagannath on his chariot, you touch the rope, if you pull the rope, if you take Jagannath's prasadam, you get immense spiritual benefit. And you don't have to pay a penny for it. You don't even have to know it. It just happens. So Krishna is so kind that he gives his mercy. That's Lord Chaitanya. He's the most merciful incarnation. And he gives mercy to anyone, even if they don't want it. As long as they don't reject it, they forgive it. So we thank you very much for over time. Thank you very much for coming. And there'll be some wonderful topics here in this tent and in other tents. So a lot of our very senior and experienced devotees. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. So let's thank Medhavi Prabhu for this wonderful ministry of finding peace.